This is 107.2 FM. You're listening to The Real Drive. And it gives us great pleasure to introduce to you our esteemed guest for this afternoon. We are speaking to Mr. T.R. Moodley. And you have seen his, especially during the election period, he's campaigning for him being an independent candidate in the elections. And I want to say a huge vanakkam, namaskaram, and welcome to the studio.
Welcome, thank you for having me.
It is certainly a pleasure to have you on here. And firstly, let me say, congratulations, because when it came to the election results, we saw that you actually took out a lot of the parties being an independent candidate yourself. What was the feeling behind that? Your performance in the election?
I think more people were more excited than I was, because I don't get too caught up in emotions. I just look for the next step forward. But very often, every now and then, I sit back and when I explain to people in audiences or shows that I'm doing, I said my performance ended up being phenomenal, and most people don't understand why. Firstly, I ended up being the best performing independent in the country. 11 independents.
Yes.
I was the only Indian independent.
Yeah.
I was the only one in KZN. And a lot of people don't realize how momentous the victory was, or my performance was, because the closest person who came to me was a guy in Cape Town called Zaki Ahmad. And Zaki Ahmad got about 10,000 votes. 10,300. So I beat him over 2,500 votes. But here's the interesting thing. Zaki Ahmad has been activist for a very long time.
Yes.
Very well-known activist. And Zaki Ahmad campaigned for over a year. I only had 6 weeks.
Yes, definitely.
Zaki Ahmad had 400 volunteers. I had 20 across the province.
Yes.
Zaki Ahmad had a full-time office and a campaign manager.
Yeah.
I had none. And the biggest thing is, Zaki Ahmad, by the time just before the election, had spent over 11 million rands. And my campaign in total, and my campaign budget in total was under 200,000 rand.
Okay,
just to put it into perspective as to what my performance was. I mean, 6 weeks before election, if someone went into election 6 months, they'll tell you it's too short a time. I went in with 6 weeks to go.
Exactly, so, and you performed amazingly. We're going to put that down as a success. I think a lot of us were extremely happy when the results came out as well. As I say, many people around you were quite excited. What do you put it down to? I mean, were you expecting that feedback?
Well, when we were excited, I was disappointed, because I thought clearly I could chop more than 20,000.
All right.
But realistically, with my budget, I only managed to reach 20% of my election. I mean, I only campaigned in Phoenix and Chatsworth, essentially. But the performance-wise, why I would do it for you people, when people ask me that question, I say, listen, it took a lot for me to put my name on a ballot sheet.
That's a big thing.
In fact, to be honest with you, I was doing a TV interview for Newsroom Africa. So the guy did the interview, he put his mic down and he said to me, dude, I've got to tell you, you've got how to do this. I said, what do you mean? He says, no. To do this as independent, he says, you really got to have a pay.
Exactly.
And I, throughout my career in the last 10 years, wherever I go into a mall, into an event, I'm one of the most recognizable brands. People just gravitate towards me. So I did the ultimate test. I said, well, if I think I'm that popular, let me put it down. Put my name on a ballot sheet and see how many people vote for me. I haven't said this in comedy. A lot of people talk about artists, how good you are, and whatever. I say to people, if you're an artist, you think you're that good, put your name on a poster and charge 150 rand to the door. And then you'll know if you're popular or not.
Exactly.
Sitting on a lineup with 5 and 10 other people, that doesn't cut it for me. Put your name on a poster, put a price, and see how many people walk to the door to see you. Then you know you're somebody. So for me, the election was, I always felt I was popular and well known. I said, okay, ultimate test, put your name on a ballot sheet and see how many people will vote for you.
You know what, I think a lot of people have heard you, because you are quite controversial. Both in your comedy. Can I say controversial? Both in your comedy as with politics. Is it something that it's part of your act, or is that something that you are just born with?
Being controversial.
Yeah.
I think I was born with it. If I can very very quick incident, I was in standard 5.
Yeah.
And I was head prefect.
All right.
And but I came from a middle to low income family. There was a guy in school with me, came from a very upmarket family. He and I would challenge for first and second position in class. And he thought he was going to be a head boy.
All right.
So me as a lower income person, I became head boy.
All right.
He wasn't happy. So he would constantly go to the prefect master and complain that I'm not doing my duty.
All right.
At standard 5, I got so upset. I walked up to the prefect master, I took my badge out and I threw it on the table. And I said, give the job to him. My prefect master sounded me, gave me a clap. But I threw the badge. And I didn't want it. I said, I'm not taking this nonsense.
Yeah.
Does that mean? And so if you know controversial, I challenge the system. I don't go out trying to be controversial. But if I see something that I don't like, I will challenge it.
Of course.
I don't settle for something. I don't suck up to anyone.
Yeah.
I don't try to pander to someone, which is why I'll end up generally having a problem with wherever I am, because it's like if you're talking to someone and then you figure out this guy's bullshitting you. So I call him out. Others will walk away and say, leave him. I call him out and say, dude, what do you mean this?
Okay.
So I start to challenge. Then I get a bad vibe. Then someone go out and say, but he's like this. In essence, a lot of people say, but to me, but you had a problem with that guy. I said, they believe I'm the problem.
Yeah.
I had a problem with 8 out of 10 guys.
Yes.
The thing is, I found out these 8 out of 10 guys, they're not who they say they are. They're pretentious, or they have an agenda, and I just can't take it. I'll call it out.
So I think, from where I'm seeing it, controversy is basically the label that's been put by people who can't actually handle the truth to a certain extent.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. Most people don't want to handle the truth. The truth is too much to handle. And I've become controversial because I speak the truth. And most people who feel challenged by the truth are going to get feelings and they get hurt. And so many times my fans will tell me, we love what you say, and we love how you say it. I said, let me tell you something. Very soon you're going to be upset with me because I'm going to say something that you don't like. And because otherwise I'm not who I am.
Exactly.
I'm going to say something you don't like.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to like me.
Yeah.
But it's who I am. It's what I say. And right now in this, country, in a situation where we are, I think too many pretentious people, too many people playing up to certain things, and until the day that I close my eyes, hopefully I will try to speak the truth, speak my truth.
Yeah.
Look, the truth is, and things, if people are criticized, I believe what I believe in. It may not be what you believe.
Yeah.
But I stand up for what I believe in. So I will continue to do that. And I think so long as I do that, there will be people who believe in what I believe in.
Yeah.
And those are the people who are, like right now, there may be people listening that said, this guy is this. You don't need to follow me.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I only want people to follow me who believe. For example, if there's a Christian guy here, Christian people will follow him.
Exactly.
If there's a Hindu guy, the Christian guy doesn't need to attack the Hindu guy. Follow your leader.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Exactly.
And it's a lesson, if we get the radio in this conversation of community needs to learn. It's like TikTok. You see something on TikTok, you don't like it. Scroll past. You don't need to go onto that channel and call that guy out. And
you don't have to throw shade.
There you go.
Exactly.
And that's something that I try to change in our community. You just scroll on by.
Exactly. And for those that actually don't know, the TR has beautiful names behind that. Dhanasegran Rubanathan, am I saying that correctly?
Dhanasegran Rubanathan, yeah.
Dhanasegran Rubanathan Moodley. And
Rubanathan, I carry my father's name.
Okay.
I'm quite proud, yeah.
How did it evolve into Karo Charo? Where did that come from?
Actually, Dhanasegran Rubanathan only came out in the last
couple of months.
Yeah. If you did a Google search on Karo Charo, one of the biggest searches was, what is Karo Charo's real name? Because nobody knew it. Nobody knew it. When I say nobody, the general public didn't know the name. So if you go Google, you'll find one of the top searches, what is Karo Charo's real name?
Now people know.
Now people know. And for long I wanted to hide it. Then at some point I wanted to release my name, and my fans said, no, don't tell him your name. Just leave it the way it is. Because the enigma just continued. But obviously because of the elections. But Karo Charo, I started my career as a show promoter, by the way. I was into comedy. And then I got into comedy by default. I was doing a show called Karo Charos, featured the late Kaalan Pillay, Segi Murugan, J. Loshni, PJ. It was called Karo Charos. Then, very quickly, if you don't know how Karo Charo came about, for your audience, one of the comics said to me, as a promoter, you're a funny guy, you must come on stage. So I said, okay, I'm doing the show, I'll be your host MC.
Yeah.
So for people not to recognize me, in case I failed, I'll put on this massive wig, I'll put on his big glasses.
All right.
My wife made this coat for me that I looked like a circus clown. Actually,
All right.
really, it was striped. It looked here. The idea was to look hideous.
Okay.
Big white glasses like the Elvis thing. And I went on stage and I did the set, a couple of sets, and then I came off stage, and because I was managing the event, I went up to my office and I was busy making out the wages for the guys and whatever, and the guys were streaming out of the venue.
Yeah.
Somebody who knows me quite well came up to my door. He stood up at the door. He supported all my shows. He sat there and he said, "The show was good, eh? But who's that guy with the wig and the glasses? That guy was really good."
All right.
And then Kaalan Pillay was born. Somebody who knew me didn't know it was me. And then the whole identity thing, it wasn't a plan. It just evolved.
And such an amazing journey it has been now. The journey into entertainment, into showbiz, and now into politics. What's the stark difference between Dhanasekaran, the comedian, and Dhanasekaran, the politician? Is there a stark difference?
I hope not. I think the comedian was true to form. Comedians, material. A lot of people in my material said that you speak what is life, what is reality, and most comics do that. Comics, if you listen to most comedians, they actually talk about their own life. A lot of them. If a guy's been through a divorce, he'll speak only about divorce and relationships.
Yeah.
His comedy is based around that.
Yeah.
So I just try to stay true to that. Most of it, what about material resonates. So I like to think that even now, my stuff must resonate. What I say must reach people. And I like to think that I won't lose Karo Charo because there's a fun element. You don't have to be stuck in the mud.
No, of course.
Of
course not.
So I sort of used that to some extent. For example, I was doing my first ever speech at the IEC. I think it was a signing in ceremony, the swearing in ceremony. And they gave us 3. I knew whatever I said had to resonate. They gave us 3 minutes on the mic, and then while I'm on stage, they tell us, "No, you've got 90 seconds."
All right.
Because the time was
Just cut that in half.
So then I'm just busy scratching away at this thing, and I said, "What am I going to say?" And then I went on the stage and I did this, what they call a famous, infamous speech. I said, "When I become president, I'll make the bunny chow the national food, the fish, the national fish, the shad, and the marigold, the national flower," something like that, right? And then my critics went absolutely ballistic. They said, "Look at this idiot, and he's making us like a fool, and you expect this guy to lead us, wada, right?" So, but it's only about last week that I actually revealed the method to the madness. I realized whatever I said there had to have an impact.
Exactly.
Now, here's the thing. It's called playing the player. I didn't have a budget to reach my audience. Because I had no money to be on radio, to be on TV, to do adverts and all that. So I came up with this 90 seconds of this.
Yeah.
That I knew that my critics will take it and they'll post it on every platform to mock me.
Exactly, yeah.
But I didn't mind that. I only needed a 5% comeback on that.
Because you weren't seeing that as obviously you weren't mocking anything.
No.
It's stuff that were relatable to the people you wanted to reach.
But obviously my critics saw it as, this guy's an idiot, he's talking stupid things, let's just expose him.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind the exposure because they were taking me and placing me on platforms that I would never have been on.
Yeah.
And as long as I got even a less than 5% comeback, that was my strategy. So they actually did my marketing for me, mass marketing for me. There was another guy, a black guy, who put my poster out and he said Steven Seagal. So because of the bandana. So they were mocking me there. But it didn't matter. Because now the African community know me very well. When I go anywhere, I mean, the beautiful moment for me was I was at Queensborough doing a run on the road giving out pamphlets.
Yeah.
A guy in a taxi driver, stopped on the road, got out of his taxi and took a selfie with me on the road. He knew me, and he knew me because this guy was doing this video on the Steven Seagal, supposedly mocking me. But they gave me the publicity that I needed, which I couldn't afford. So it's called playing the player. I actually played them. I told them this, and they went and put it on all platforms, and they helped me to market my campaign. I only needed a few people to say, "I didn't know Kaalan Pillay is in the race. I'm going to vote for you."
Of course.
It worked.
And definitely it did. Let's get into I think the party of the moment at the moment, because it's newly been registered. I'm sure it has been a journey leading up to this as well. Tell us about the core idea behind 1860 NIC Congress.
Look, I can get a seat in City Council next election, guaranteed. It's very easy. I'll get a seat. I'll spend 5 years, I'll get a salary, I'll get some perks, life is set.
Yeah.
The end goal is bigger than that. I don't need to be in this party. I'll get a seat on my own.
Yes.
And job done. My wife, I'm secured for a while, whatever comes with it, all of the perks. If I use a business strategy, if I start a business, I'll be a millionaire.
Yeah.
But I want to be a billionaire. If you understand, not about the money, I'm saying it is bigger,
yes,
bigger than that.
Yeah.
So the party is the vehicle to move the Indian community, or be a voice for the Indian community, even when I'm gone. That's the strategy. Because right now it doesn't exist. There is no such body. There is no such model that is there for the Indian community to ride on and take us into the sunset and beyond.
Yeah.
So the party had to come into play because it's bigger than me.
Okay.
So
Understood.
I needed to have a structure in place. I needed to have this in place, so that our generation to come can have a model. That's the thinking behind it.
Okay, I know it's a newly formed party. There's probably not much of a structure in it at the moment, but you said that you stand for certain values, certain goals that needs to be achieved, especially driving the entire Indian community, especially in South Africa. What are some of the goals that you want to achieve, or with the party and with yourself as well?
Well, the first goal I want to achieve is to give our community a sense of
belonging,
or that they have representation. And a lot of it has to do with, even I speak to guys about electricity, and those are service delivery issues. They will be dealt with. But there's a bigger problem at play, and representation of the Indian community. If I may say this, many people will, and our own people, criticize ourselves. Indians are like this, we like that, backstabbers, whatever. But we're a product of a system of apartheid. And the thing is, we don't have a sense of our own real value and pride. And once we achieve a sense of pride and value, I think we'll become a different community. And the reason why we don't have enough pride and respect for ourselves is that we don't know our own education, our own history. You see, for me, a community or culture or tribe, your history is important. Where you come from, who you are. And then you develop a sense of pride. We're a lost community. We don't know who our heroes are. And the main thing is, and I always use this example, to know, in school we learned about Volrat Voltimand. He ran into the water and saved some 10 people of whatever it is.
And then there was M. Padavatan.
Where's the Padavatan brothers? There you go. You see, how many people? I was in my own meeting. A 50-year-old guy says, I don't know what the Padavatans are. I said, I don't blame you. You're not stupid. But our history doesn't teach us. These are real heroes. And even I'm learning. I'm not going to claim I know all this. I've been learning. But we must have a sense of pride. These are our leaders. This is where we come from. We come from a stock. The Romans would always say, I am the son of Maximus. You know what that meant? I am the son of stock. I am this person. We frightened even to say my father's name is Tambi. We are ashamed to say the name.
Okay. Now, is this for you the biggest thing that's plaguing the Indian community, a lack of pride? Because there's a lot of issues that we face as communities, from the water infrastructure, from the energy point of view, and so forth. These are all bigger issues, but I think we have to bring it down to the crux to actually identify what's plaguing the Indian community.
No, it's interlinked. But here's the thing: we had this discussion before on air. Community is fragmented. You can't get people together.
True.
You can't get people together because they're fighting with each other. You can't get them. They're fighting with each other because they don't have self-respect.
Okay.
That guy is this guy is that, whatever. So yes, there are a lot of things that we'll deal with. But a lot of the first thing about the party is to give you a home, and learn your sense of self-worth. Like even a guy sent me a message this morning. He said, "You're talking rubbish." I said, "Do you need to be disrespectful? Can we not be civil?
Exactly.
And have a disagreement?
Yeah.
Do you need to end up in a fight?
Be diplomatic."
Then he said, "I'm sorry."
Good.
But I had to teach him that. I don't mind you doing that. But what does that mean? When we start all the issues that we have, whether it's community coming together, even your road, self-respect, respect your neighbor. He's not the best guy. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Okay.
But give him his due. He's trying. If we can't, help him along. So I think once you start there, we can start to help each other grow as a community and start to tackle issues. Community issues, of course. You see a guy going on the road and he's sweeping the road. Then the critics will say, "Oh, look at him. He wants to be a councillor." He's trying to do those things to please. Why do we need to be so negative? Why do we have to? I'm a living example. People are trying to chop me down and mow me out like you can't believe. But I know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Somebody else doesn't know. Now the self-respect comes like this as well. Let a guy do something. Let him become a leader. We can build leaders. We're not incapable. But every Indian person believes that you can't lead. You can't be someone. You're not worthwhile. So that's the other thing. When we build leadership, then we take control of our road, of our area, of our structure. We start to build. And everything else will start to come into play. It's like Rudy Giuliani, is it? Mayor of New York City. I mean, he fixed the crime by fixing petty crime, pickpockets and all that.
Yes.
Small crime.
Yes, small. Okay.
But that started to grow bigger, and suddenly the whole problem started to fix itself.
It's all connected.
So I think rather than me trying to just go and make a big dent in certain things, I think first we have to start from there. And if we're able to work as a community, work together, work with each other, I can sit with you and have a discussion. Tomorrow we go outside. We don't have to have dinner and have coffee. We don't have to be best friends. But so long as we're at the table, we must discuss the issues that affect us. So I think that to me is a big part. The party must first give them a sense of belonging. The party must advocate for our rights, advocate for our history, advocate for our culture, our languages, and who we are. I think the rest will build from there.
And a lot of what you're saying for me, resonates in our teachings that were passed down by the elders that we, to a certain extent, forgotten about. And I see the party 1860 and I see Congress bringing all of this together again and reminding us this is what we actually stand for. And I think that'll be so impactful in our community, and it's needed. It's something we've lost.
I think we've lost it. I mean, I got a teenage son, others got teenagers. We blame ourselves because we haven't taught them this history. We haven't taught them this value system. We haven't taught them who our heroes are. What the discoveries. I mean, we learn about European conquerors. We had people doing stuff way before time. If you look at history, whatever, there's so much of knowledge out there, but we don't know about it. The Indian community and our history, going back to India, is massive. The role we played in the world needs to come out. Whether it's science, whether it's education, even now in technology, we are by far superior race on this planet. But even here, we inextricably linked to Mother India. Because the core values come from there. But we seem to have lost our way there. So that to me is first find your way, come on the path. Yes, the grass is overgrown and this is happening and that is happening, but we got to come on the path first, figure ourselves out, and together only we can. I can't be fighting a battle when someone's saying chop my legs out.
That's true.
No,
you can't.
That's the first thing. So
we're fighting each other.
All the community issues, we fragmented with various people in the community because they're fighting with each other. I'm okay with you disagreeing, but at some point we must come together for the betterment of the community. That's to me is core. And you're right when you say we have a very rich culture, very rich history, and for 30 years and plus we've been denied that history. No one. I mean, if I want to talk something now about, 1949, a period on history. If you ask anyone, people don't know what 1949 means. Why are we not talking about 1949? If you talk about the July unrest, then build a monument for 30 people who died. I'm not taking anything away from their lives. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But in 1949, Indian men, women, children were raped, maimed, murdered.
And no one speaks about
it. No one even talks about it. They don't. And the sad part is, those who are still alive will then be gone, and those actual experiences will never be told. And that's why we don't know how our Indian fathers and grandfathers and mothers protected people, helped people. The stories are great, but
there's no one to actually sit down and bring this down and document it.
We will lose the story, and then when we lose that story, we think we're not worth it. We think we're not good enough. We think we're not smart enough. Another person is always smarter than us. That race and those people are better than us. No, I think we're the superior race.
Of course, the amazing words as well. Thank you so much for that. Rani of Stangamana says, "Hi, Kaalan, and your guest, Mr. T.R. Moodley. Whatever the outcome of his election results were, I want to say we commend him for being so bold and brave in taking on this challenge. We applaud Mr. Moodley for standing up for us, the minority. Well done, and all of the best for your future endeavors." Rani of Stangamana. Thank you so much for that. Rani Patsy Governor says he is awesome, love him. Dolly Governor says, Kaalan, I recognize the voice of your guest, Kara Char, because I enjoy all of his videos. Thanks, Dolly Governor of Australia. Thank you so much for all of your comments. Any other comments and constructive comments, questions you have for Mr. T.R. Moodley? He's in studio. He's run as an independent candidate for the elections 2024. Now he's got heading his own party. When we say his own party, he's got a party around him. And we're going to speak about a bit more much about that when we return. We'll take a small music break, but your comments on 07409611157. Yes, Riki Rix and the Rixter Talk Town Special. I've got two voice notes, the headphones there, we can listen to them and then you can comment on it, but we listen to them live.
Okay.
Alright?
When you play it now?
No, not now. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to switch our mics off and play the comments so that it can be heard as well. Because if I switch our mics on, it cuts off the speakers, so it'll be like dead air on social media. Alright? How's it going so far? We're going to touch a bit more on the obviously you don't in terms of putting together a committee within the party.
Yeah, it's more structural. We can talk on the structures.
All right.
And also clearly I want to focus on participation from other people.
All right. Okay.
You might want to ask if the Indian aspect and Indian if you know what a lot of people ask if I have a pro-Indian agenda. What
Okay.
does it mean for me?
And then we have to speak about the future as well.
What does it mean for them and where we go? Because we have to harness that as well. That we've got an active listenership. Who are interested in what's going on. As to where we take ourselves. Local government election next. I think we touch on that.
Okay. Yes.
When we tell them what it means and also educating them. Local government has two.
A lot of people don't know about it.
And got two ballots. They don't know that as well.
Okay. All right.
There's a
ward and
there's a ward and then there's a PR vote, second vote.
okay.
So we as a party can get PR seats without even winning a ward.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
For example, if you go vote for your councillor, you vote for him on the first ballot, and give me 1860 the second ballot.
Yeah.
When they count all the second votes, we can get a seat in city council without even winning a ward.
Yeah.
But we get representation. I mean, right now the thing is, but you see, it's things that people don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know how the council works, what the council is supposed to do.
Okay.
It's just a lack of information. And for me, whatever I do, I try to educate them in little things so that I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew this. So and my tagline is knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you can make an informed decision.
Can I ask you about like with the Bella bill, they want to impose language in education policy, where they want schools to learn more African languages. And if you look at our schools in Phoenix, Chatsworth and so far, those who are doing Tamil, Telugu, Hindi is suffering. So the Indian languages are suffering in the Indian schools as well. Can I ask you about that?
The thing is, if that you're going to ask, I will not go too much in the Bella bill.
Yeah.
But the thing is, language things means we had Indian languages in school. What happened to it?
Exactly.
And what I think you need to concentrate on for me is that concentrate on leadership and what we had for 30 years. Why did we lose Indian languages?
Yes.
And who fought for it? Somebody let it go. Why? And where were our so-called leaders at that?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it, for me, what we need to do is, because it's not just about me.
Just give me a second.
No problem. Oh gosh. But minutes.
Yeah, a few seconds.
You want to try to open up?
107.2 FM, welcome to the show. This is The Real Drive. We are in studio with Mr. T.R. Moodley. and he's an independent candidate, firstly, who ran for elections in 2024, and now he's got I'm going to say amazing already, because for what you're telling me it stands for is amazing, the 1860 NIC Congress. We've got 2 voice notes. I'm going to go to Denise very quickly, and when we come back, we'll take more comments from Mr. T.R. Mr. T.R. Moodley. Welcome to the show. This is 107.2 FM.
Hey Kaalan, it's Denise. I hope you're well. And hello to guest today. I'm so excited to listen to this interview that you're having with really love Kaalan channel. And yes, I also find out that he's one. In fact, when I used to watch some of his videos, I used to think, he looks a little bit like a cousin of mine, and I was like, But then obviously we found out who he was. So yeah, we really enjoy listening to him, and all the work that he's doing for the community. So yeah, very nice interview today. Bye. Such a lost community. We don't actually understand our worth. We actually don't understand what we are worth. In the workplace, it's known that we are the hardest workers. Not only the hardest workers, but the smartest workers as well. But we are not compensated properly. And that is something that needs to be brought to light. If we have a voice for our Indians, that would be the best thing that could happen to us, because we need to get what we are worth and not just accept what we are given, because that's not who we are. We definitely are fighters, and we are not quitters. Absolutely not.
And thank you for those comments, Denise. Very strong comments made as well. Do you find this always, or do you find this often the complaint amongst the Indian community? I'm sure many have come to you in terms of how we are compensated, especially at the workplace.
I think it's more than compensation. I think from my experience, I just put out a text yesterday on my platform that the Indian community in the last 30 years, what has happened is the following. In the workplace, Indian people would train other people only for that person to become their superior. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, Indian people are then pushed sideways. There's no promotion. You push sideways, and then you're pushed out.
Yeah.
I know of many people who quit work because they just can't handle it.
Yeah.
But it was systematic moving them out of the situation. So promotions and all that, it doesn't happen anymore. And people think, when they come to me with the problems, they think they're in isolation. I was sat with a magistrate and in Durban, and he pointed to his skin and he said he's been acting in this position for 10 years. He will never get the position.
Oh, wow.
The reason is of his skin color. And coincidentally, not coincidentally, you see, people don't, when the guy complains about his problem at work, I was stopped, by the way, on the N2, and we're going to a bus trip.
Yeah.
So the policeman stopped the bus for interview, to check the bus license or whatever.
Yeah,
so then he saw me in the bus, he got excited. He left the fine, he started talking to me. He says, you know something, I'm in this position for 30 years, and he's complaining he's not getting promoted. So people believe that he believes he's the only one. I can tell you there's thousands across the province of Indians who are in a similar situation.
Yeah.
They are not being, if you look at, like I said, we're 1.2 million people in this province, second largest population. We should be seeing representation, whether you're going to Edgar's, whether you're going to government department, but we're not seeing that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, your child, to apply for a job in the government, you'll actually think you're wasting your time. You'll never even join the queue.
Yeah.
You're not even submitting a CV because you've got no choice. You're going to waste your time as well. And it's the reality of the situation we have today. My issue is this: the leadership that we have. Why were we not challenging all of this? Why were we not asking for figures? Let's just take the NASFAS funding. I get numerous complaints that they qualify in terms of the threshold.
Yeah.
But they're not getting the funding. Is it one person or is it 10,000 people?
Yeah.
They believe they're on their own. I believe there's much more than that.
Of course.
Now, is it a race problem? If it's not, prove it to us. Show me the stats.
Yeah.
Show me how much how much of people have applied and how you've allocated the funds. The information is available. When you prove to me that it's not, I'll say, okay, thank you very much. It's not a race issue. But first prove to me.
Okay.
So all the information is available. Let me see the stats. Let me see the stats of how you're employing in government departments. How many Indians have you employed in the last 12 months? So, you see those things nobody's ever questioned.
No one's questioning that, and that is so true. I mean, we are now 30 years into this independence. Do you think the Employment Equity Act of '98 has run its course? It's not. I mean, it's there for quite a long time, but has it done its job?
No, you see that's the main thing. BE is one thing, but the main thing is there, and that I learned from one of my own members. And I don't mind saying it in my own meeting. He said, BE is not really the problem. Firstly, it's the wrong implementation. BE is a brilliant policy. They're implementing it correctly. But the main issue with employment is the Employment Equity Act. And that you're saying, the percentages, the quota systems. I mean, fair enough, it can apply in certain areas or other areas, but in KZN, we are second highest population. Surely there should be a different, and yes, it's run its course.
Yeah.
30 years now, we've reached a certain point, we're now on a level. You'll find even African people on TikTok are complaining about the service they're receiving. If I said this 10 years ago, I'm a racist. Now, African people are realizing for themselves. You go there, they're on their phones. They're going for lunch. They're saying it. The thing is, you've got the wrong people for the job. So somebody asked me when I was doing an interview or IOL, they said, how will you fix the problem? I said, the first thing is put the right people for the job.
Yeah. When
we start doing merit-based appointments, the problem will start to fix itself. The issue at the moment is we've too much of this policy where the wrong people are there to do the job and somebody else must go and redo the job. So merit-based appointments, 30 years down the line, when is this policy, Employment Equity Act and the BE policy going to be scrapped? When? Nobody's giving us an idea.
No.
And here's the thing. It's like whether you have a landlord, even if you work here, if you don't complain to your boss, you'll never know your problem.
That's true.
So you're just messing around with your guy and complaining, but you're not telling him the problem. So for 30 years, in a way, you don't blame our government because Indians were fine. Because our leaders were saying, we're fine. We accept everything. We're okay with the Equity Act. We're clear with BE. We're clear with taking our languages away from school. We're okay with all of that. No, now it's time to say we're not okay with that.
And I think on that point as well, we're not going to get into the Bela Bill because it's quite a complex thing. But it's expected now that schools report to the Department of Education in terms of an education, a language policy. Whereas you say to yourself, I've stood in for teachers in schools, teaching Tamil. I've seen the Indian languages called Eastern languages get thrown out of schools by our own people. What's your take on our languages in school? Have we been achieving what we should be achieving?
Well, we don't value our languages because our languages are taken away now. That's the same thing I was speaking about earlier. We were doing Eastern languages in school.
Yeah.
And then under the leadership of our Indian leaders at the time, 15, 20 years back, it's gone. And nobody said anything.
Yeah.
So we're now sitting with our children learning other languages, but we don't learn our own language.
Honestly, whilst I was there, no political individual actually stood up and spoke for the Indian languages. I'm going to be quite honest about this. It hasn't been done, and I'm hoping that this is one of the aspects you're also going to touch on with the party 1860 NIC.
No, 1860 NIC Congress is here to say anything you do, when we get representation in city council and then in government, any policy must be questioned. Simple as that. There's nothing wrong. The policy. Look, I believe that there are policies in place that are good. It's just that it's not being implemented
properly,
and nobody's following the process. I think we have a lot of brilliant policies. In fact, when it comes to funding, let's just take arts and culture. Why isn't Lakshmi Stars and Flash Entertainers getting funding? Why is it only there's funding? It's there, but we don't know how to go about it, how to apply for it. Arts and culture is not African arts and culture or white arts and culture. It's arts and culture. So even if you're a singer in Chatsworth and a dancer doing Bharatanatyam or whatever, it's your culture. If you are having an event and you're going to promote arts and culture, you apply for funding. Funding is there. So there are lots of mechanisms and things in place which are a home business. There's help for you. There's fairs how to run your business. There's advice columns. There's funding available, but our people don't know about it.
And I mean, look at the unemployment rate we're just going to take Chatsworth. Let's not even touch Phoenix because that's a bigger area to look at. The rate of unemployment amongst our youth, especially, is staggering. Whereas all of these assistance is right there. And I think, many people have been speaking about it in the quiet, that it may be a race issue, but now you coming out and saying it is definitely that to a certain extent.
No, the race issue must be clear because people don't accuse me of being a racist. How can I be a racist when the policy is setting Indian 2% quota? You telling me you're a racist. You saying Indian people can't get into medical school because of this, this, and this. I mean, for the listeners who don't know, to get into medical school, an Indian student must perform, I don't know all the points exactly, but I'll give an idea. An Indian child is forced to get 95 points. A white child can get 89 points. A colored child can get 80 points, and a black child is allowed to get 75 points to get into university. Right? So firstly, there we are discriminating.
That's messed up.
And secondly, we can have 10 students getting 95 points, but they'll only take 2. The rest, which is why you find Indian children going overseas to study, going to Cape Town to get other universities, because they're not getting accepted yet. Who has challenged this 2% quota in the last 30 years? And the problem with that is not just about a race issue. We are depriving our country of the best medical doctors and minds by this quota system. So I'm not the racist here. There's a racist policy in place. I'm challenging the race. The day you stop referring me to as an Indian, then you'll say, okay, let's stop from there.
Okay, I think amazing points made there because, as you pointed out, a lot of people don't even know this is in place at universities. Also, a lot that we don't know about are the different types of elections that are taking place. Well, we've got an election coming up very, very soon.
Local government, 2026.
Local government. Let's leave we'll speak about 2029, but let's speak about local government elections. Where is 1860 NIC positioning itself to be that?
Before we go there, maybe we missed this. Can I just say 1860 NIC Congress in terms of NIC?
Yeah.
We don't have Indian in the name, and because 2029 is a goal for us.
Yes.
And NIC is not the Natal Indian Congress.
Okay.
If I may.
Yes, of course.
NIC refers. It's a reference point to the Natal Indian Congress, because for many of you listeners who don't know, the Natal Indian Congress was the first, I would say, official structure or body in this country. 1894, I think it was. And to put things in perspective, the ANC was only formed in 1904. So our forefathers already knew at that point that we needed to have a voice for Indian people. So, and the leaders at the time. So I found it apt that I use NIC as a reference point, being the first official body there to speak for Indian people.
Yeah.
And right now in our history, we find ourselves coming full circle and needing to have a voice for Indian people again. So that is the reference point. But also, we don't want the Indian in the name because come 2029, I have a longer term plan. Come 2029, the party and its representatives will be a party for all. Then people will vote for good leadership, ethical leadership. Okay. That's what they will vote for.
All right.
So then that leads us to the 2026 election, which is local government elections. And I think our citizens need to become a bit more active. If you want representation, you have to be a registered voter firstly. The apathy of saying, I don't vote. A lot of people say, I'm not interested in politics. That's like saying, I'm not interested in my child's education. I'm not interested in my granny's social grant. I'm not interested in potholes on the road. I'm not interested in the healthcare. That's because politics affects, whether you like it or not, it affects every aspect of your life.
Of course.
So you can't say, I'm not interested in politics. Because politics it has a profound effect on your life. I don't blame people in a way because politicians have a knack, and I don't like to be called a politician. They've created a bad tag attached to them,
That's true.
But the reality is the following. The politician makes your decisions, and you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
You no matter what you say, he's going to make your decisions. So we have to now become active citizens, play a role in politics. I don't mind if you don't even vote for me, vote for someone. Make a choice. Become a registered voter. And 2026 if you can't get your representation in 2026 and get who you want, I think that the Indian community must then sit back and accept their fate. Because even with us entering the fray as a... Well, by the way, 1860 NIC Congress now is an officially registered political party. We can challenge any by-election. If next month there's a by-election in KZN, we can challenge it. That's where we stand. We can challenge any by-election coming up from now until 2026. But for 2026 also the voters need to firstly be registered, number one.
Okay.
And secondly, something I think you just learned offline as well, is that there are two ballots.
Two ballots.
So firstly you vote for your councillor on one ballot, and the second ballot sheet you vote for the party. So it doesn't necessarily be the same thing. So even for 1860 NIC Congress, if you're in an area and you have a good councillor, and you think that councillor, whether it's from whichever party, IFP, I would say vote for the IFP. He's a good councillor, he's done his job. But give us the second vote. Now what is the second vote? The second vote, when it's counted across the province, the party with the highest number of the second votes, as I'll call it, gets what is called a PR seat, a public representative seat in city council. So we as a party don't necessarily have to win a ward, but we can get seats in city council.
Okay.
And that's the most important thing for our people to understand. If you are not sitting at the table, your voice is not heard.
Of course.
So let me just reiterate. In order for your voice to be heard, dear listeners, we need to have a seat at the table. And here's the thing. The more seats we have, the louder our voice is. The more seats we have, the more voting power we have. The more voting power we have, the more chance of effecting change. Simple as that. We need the seats at the table. If you're not at the table, Gayton McKenzie said it. Gayton McKenzie said it from the start in his campaign. He said, colored people need to have a seat at the table. What did he do? Look where he is now. He's a minister. Gayton McKenzie is a minister affecting change. But he got his seat at the table. Our party is 10 years behind Gayton McKenzie in terms of where he started. But it doesn't mean we can't get there.
Of course.
And if you look at what Gayton McKenzie is doing, if we had a seat at the table, I mean, in my last election, in the provincial election, I lost a seat in the national legislature by 5,000 votes.
That's
only 5,000 votes.
Small margin.
I mean, once Unit 7 Chatwat will give me the 5,000 votes.
And you mentioned the representation.
Having a seat at the highest decision-making body in the province, that would have been. But in a way, we were sold out by people who didn't believe what we discussed earlier on. We don't believe we have the capacity to do this.
Yeah.
But we have the capacity. And if I had a seat in the legislature, then so many things could have been, I wouldn't say fixed, but we'd have a better idea of where this is going, why the water situation is followed, why the electricity situation is like that, and how we can tackle these issues. Be that as it may, it's water under the bridge. People who've learned the lessons. I might tell you a real story. Is a guy who was a sponsor of us said clearly, he said, I didn't vote for you. And he said, how I regret not doing that.
Of course.
He said, how I regret not voting for you.
Look, I'm glad that you come onto our station as well, because now many of us have an idea what you stand for, why you're here, and from where I see it, you are the representation that we've been screaming for, that we've not had the courage to actually stand up ourselves and take the reins and do so. But thank you, for taking those reins. And it's not a one-man show. I think we all need to stand behind you.
I think in many ways, and might I add for those who are listening and think, and I've said this numerous times, I'll say it again on this platform. Many people say that this guy is a comedian, is a clown, is not this and that, and I'll say clearly, I certainly am not the best man for the job, but I'm the only one who signed up for the job. So here I am, with all my flaws, and I've done things in my past, I've been here and there, but here I am. I'm willing to take the reins, I'm willing to run with this thing, only because nobody else stepped up. There's Theodore Roosevelt's got a saying called the man in the arena. I am the man in the arena. I am the only one in the arena. I am the only one fighting. But I had to prove to people, my independent candidature cost me money and time and effort. But I had to run the race to show my people this is possible. I had to do that on my own steam, to give them the power. Imagine if I got 2,000 votes. I'd be a laughing stock, and then no other Indian would even attempt it. Am I wrong?
No, definitely
No
not.
other would
No,
even
no.
attempt it. They'll say, this guy here with all his thing and all his followers couldn't get 5,000 votes. Where am I? So I find it also at the moment incumbent on me that if I fail, there's nobody going to come behind me.
You went into this knowing that you had to be a success.
I have to be a success because I carry the mantle. People, especially our youth, they look up to people. You have to have heroes. You have to have people you can look up to. You have to have mentors. And clearly the 1860 NIC Congress has to have a platform to bring leadership. If I close my eyes without bringing leadership on, I failed. I failed. Then it'll just die. That's not the point. The point is somebody has to come behind you, and a younger person at that. I think you even spoke about you mentoring young DJs to come on. That's what it's about. Otherwise, you're clinging on to yourself till you can't speak anymore and be there. And then what have you
accomplished?
What have you offered to society?
Of course. I think we're going to wrap up. We've got a few minutes more. Indran says, if you're not at the table, there's no chow at all. So we just want to wrap up. What's the NIC? What's the 1860 NIC Congress's vision for the 2029 elections?
2029. I've already prophesied it. I need to be a minister in the National Assembly. That's it.
Okay.
We need to be a Gayton McKenzie. We need to be there because that's how we're going to get change. We have to have our voice at the highest level of government. Otherwise, so 2026 is only a stepping stone. The main goal is 2029. In National Assembly, we need to have representation. We have the people, we have the capacity, and we can do this. All we need to do is just stand together as a community. So it's not an easy task. We have our own enemies within us trying to break us down. But I always use the numbers game. Out of 10 people, 7 people are going to sell us out. I'll take the 3.
Of course.
The 3 out of 10, and we'll fight for the other 7. Doesn't matter. We'll still fight for their children and their future. It's just sometimes they don't see the light. They don't see the future for whatever reason. Some of us are a bit more enlightened. We do believe that we have a role to play. And my parting shot would be to the people who are still undecided. If you're going to do anything, it has to be for the following reason. For your children. If you can't see, so many people complain bitterly about where we are now. So what's it going to be like in 30 years from now, when your children and your grandchildren are? And if you tell me you're leaving 3 BMWs and 2 houses for your children, they'll take it away from you. It's gone. That's not a legacy. There is no way a legacy. You're going to fail your children. So if you're going to do anything, if you're going to move yourself, it has to be for your children. So the thing I say to people, if you're going to, whatever you do, make sure you leave a legacy. Otherwise, your tenure on this planet has been a waste of time.
Of course. I think as popular as the Bani Chow and curries are, we are much more than that as a people.
100%.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Moodley, for coming on the show. And we can go on talking, but I think we need to have you in studio a few more times at least to get through all that we want to discuss. But your time is appreciated, and we truly are seeing your vision as well, and we do celebrate that.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the formation, on the registration of 1860 NIC Congress, and all of the best for the future.
Thanks, man.